You know, I'm really upset. I had like a whole sketch planned for this, putting Shadol Construct in the oven, and then when I got to Construct on the list, pulling them out of the oven and it's Shadol Construct, but I can't find my common constructs. What is up YouTube, JBKid00 here, coming to you guys with a brand new video. Today we are going to be exploring the new Limited and Forbidden list, valid for the January 2018-ish format. So today is the first time I'm actually going to sit down and really discuss my thoughts on this list. Working weekends has its perks and its negatives, and the list coming out at about 1 AM my time before I'm due for the busiest shift of my week wasn't really ideal, so my sincerest apologies for getting this video to you a little bit late. Trying a new style using a slightly different camera because my webcam is a little bit out of date and budget cuts are kind of tight at the moment. Please do forgive the backing set as well. Those of you who are in tune with my Instagram will know that I'm also a bit of an avid Warhammer player, and I've actually got a bit of a project on the go, so do check that out as well, shameless plug. But without much further ado, we're going to dig into the list. I'm aware of what there is, and of course throughout this you're going to be very aware of a significant undertone which kind of addresses the lack of hits to Sky Striker and to Altergeist, but we'll come back around to it. So the first card we're going to be addressing in the hits is Fairy Tale Snow. So Fairy Tale Snow, big one for me. I play a lot of decks that play Fairy Tale Snow. My go-to decks at the moment are Danger Thunder Dragon and Burning Abyss, both of which really revolve around Fairy Tale Snow. It feels like the end of an era to see this go from the game, but I also respect the fact that there really was a high demand to see this exit the game. It really restricts a lot of plays, it hurts Burning Abyss's place in the meta game, and it really dictates that a lot of decks can really survive without much of a going second response, other than just making Curious at some point in the combo and putting Snow in the graveyard. It's unfair, it doesn't belong in the game, and honestly the hit should have happened a lot sooner, but it didn't. I enjoyed the time I had with it. Now it's gone. We're also seeing a ban on Grinder Golem. Grinder Golem is being added to the Forbidden list, and to be quite frank, it really should have done. It going to 1 really had the honest effect, or the soul charge effect, of meaning that the things that it tried to prevent happened less, but not, we didn't have an absence of it. So seeing Grinder Golem exit the game, I have absolutely no issue with. Moving through, we see Topologic Gumblar Dragon getting forbidden. So Topologic Gumblar Dragon, it's really a hit that stops the problem. A lot of the things that Konami would do previously is that they would leave these thematic headline cards like Topologic Gumblar Dragon and Firewall Dragon in the game and try to hit the cards that the abuse is occurring alongside them with. I think the forbidding of Firewall Dragon and now the forbidding of Topologic Gumblar Dragon is demonstrating a change in the way Konami really manages their game. So they are going to be forbidding the problem cards so that there can never be another hand loop play again with that would revolve around Gumblar Dragon. There won't be any kind of small adjustments, there won't be any little changes to try and make Gumblar harder to make because people find a way. That really does move us into one of our next hits. I'm going to skip one to Heroic Champion Ronganimiad. Ronganimiad, again, a real problem in the game. The fact that it's just promoted, it allowed the OTK decks of the earlier format before the last list to have a new lease on life in essentially creating a similar OTK. Ronganimiad basically reads your opponent can't play for 3 turns or 2 turns, depending on the situation. Glad to see that gone. And number 42, Galaxy Tomahawk, I feel like this is an element of future-proofing in that it reduces the power of level 7s and also reduces the power of dangers to make large Xyz boards, and these large token spam situations really need to see a hit as the power of Link Monsters scales up. So good to see Tomahawk go. And then the last card that we see forbidden on the list was Soul Charge. Soul Charge was, like I discussed with Grinder Golem, another one of those one-off cards that added a lot of variance to the game. It's one of those cards that players respond to with, oh great, you drew the Soul Charge, especially now that cards like Left Arm Offering and the Lightsworn deck have exited the format. Just drawing the Soul Charge gives you an obscene advantage, especially if you're playing a going first board builder deck. It allows you to play through multiple hand traps, and it allows you really come back into the game for what is really very little cost. A good friend of mine, a really powerful player, has always told me that life points are not a loss condition until you've run to 0. Until you hit 0, life points are a resource. You build a strong enough board, 8,000 life points is the same as 2,000 life points. Soul Charge has no place in this game, and I'm glad it's gone. So, scrolling through into the cards that are limited to 1, and I'm happy to say this is a mix of cards being brought down to 1 and brought up to 1. So we're going to open up with Chaos Emperor Dragon, Envoi of the End. Now, personally, I like this for a number of reasons. It brings the errated Chaos Emperor Dragon back into the game, which I've actually yet to memorize, so I'm not really going to comment on that in this video, but maybe you'll see me playing it in the near future. But it also gives more power to Melody of Awakening Dragon, because it's a much stronger search target without having to spend the 800 odd pounds on the Chaos Emperor Dragon prize card. So there is that. Moving through, we also have Cyberstein going to 1. I feel like the ramifications and the implications of this may not be felt very immediately, but it will definitely have an effect on the game. I've already seen that there are Cyberstein FTKs using Brain Research Lab and Reciprocus, making it a psychic, but we'll see really where that play gets. But I'm not sure how consistent that will be, but we never know. Dark Grepher has gone to 1 as well. I feel like it's a card that doesn't really belong out of the game, but like Armageddon Knight, belongs in a position where it can't be as consistent enough as to call itself a whole engine in and of its own right. Dark Warrior was an incredibly strong engine over the metagame of the last year, and I'm glad to see that both of the key cards to that have really taken a hit. The fact that Dark Grepher and Armageddon Knight are at 1, it still doesn't entirely solve the problem of the engine, because of course his Soul Day can still tutor them from the deck. However, the fact that you could kind of draw the Dark Grepher and special summon it in tandem with your dangers, the fact that that is no longer nearly as consistent an engine really reduces that, and of course you only really get one Isolde in the play, and of course one special summon. So it's good to see that go down to 1, which means you're not going to be really seeing both Armageddon Knight and both Grepher in the same combo. Scrolling through, we have Sharit, Strategist of the Necros, going back to 1. That is a huge pickup for Necros and actually makes the deck relatively playable again, because you don't have to play that god-awful Gishki engine. And you can also have some really interesting play situations where you might be able to tutor the Sharit with cards like Isolde, with like Ritual Weapon and thing. No, I jest. But I feel like there might be an interesting Isolde situation with the Sharit, pulling it out of the deck to give you better access to it, not having to burn certain cards to search it otherwise. But I think Sharit really gives a lot of power back to the deck. The ability to special summon so many of your key monsters using 1 tribute is really quite the play. Scrolling through, El Shaddoll Construct has gone back to 1. El Shaddoll Construct, of course, a card alongside my boat, Wind Up Zen Mighty, I've been pushing for ages, and I never thought it would really happen. The moment my friend sent me the link for this at 1 in the morning and wonderfully woke me up from my slumber, I read through the list, starting of course in the Forbidden section as we have in this video, and the next thing I told myself was, well, if Snow's banned, I'm almost certain that El Shaddoll Construct will no longer be forbidden. And look at this. El Shaddoll Construct comes back into the game at a time where I don't think it's quite nearly as relevant as it used to be, but it is still an obscenely potent card, and I'm very much looking forward to the decks that I can create and bring forward with it. You know that more than likely the first event I play of the format will include El Shaddoll Construct in some facility. I'm not gonna lie, it's more than likely going to be a Thunder Dragon variant, but I'm very much excited to see what the meta is going to look like for El Shaddoll Construct in 2019 as opposed to 2014 and 2015. I couldn't be happier with her being back in the game, and I'm very much looking forward to the havoc I can wreak. Scrolling through, we've seen a fair few 3-ofs hit to 1 as well, starting with Brilliant Fusion. I don't really think this was all that necessary with Fairy Tail Snow going to 1, but they are trying to shut down a lot of the combo decks. That is becoming very apparent. So Brilliant Fusion going to 1 does make good sense. Hurts me a lot because I really love my Brilliant Fusion Ultimate Rares, but is going to 1. Gold Sarcophagus going to 1. That is definitely going to hurt the Thunder Dragon deck. However, it's really a card that you only want to see the once anyway. The lack of consistency in that is really going to hurt it. But I feel like the deck will be able to recover with Aloof Lupine coming into the game. So we'll see how that swings around about situations works out. We've also seen Magical Midbreaker Field go to 1. I think that's perfectly justified. Magical Big Breaker Field made those early game kind of massive board setup decks like Dark Warrior all the harder to deal with, shutting you out of important hand traps like Ghost Ogre and things of the like. So I'm glad to see Midbreaker Field take a consistency hit. We've then seen Scapegoats go to 1. It's going to reduce the power of Trickstar even further, and it's also going to mean that it's less likely for you to get end phase Scapegoats flipped and then get Borrel sorted out of the game. I'm glad to see that go to 1. And then of course we're seeing Slash Draw go to 1, rendering it practically unplayable because of the fact that the Slash Draw FTK was such a thing. Glad to see that go. We're all good. So that moves us out of the cards that were limited to 1, and there were no semi-limits on this list. However, there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 cards that went to 3 from varying states of play. So nothing came off of the forbidden list and went straight to a 3 of. However, Inzektor Hornet has gone to 3. We'd love to have seen Inzektor Dragonfly, but Hornet getting much more consistent and much less vulnerable to a random banish makes the Inzektor deck a kind of viable, fun deck again. I don't think Inzektor will ever come back to its original prime like it did in 2012, and I'm kind of glad to say that because it was a format dictating deck at the time. But I feel like Inzektor really is good to see back now as a fun option for locals. We've then seen Necros of Brionac go from 1 to 3. Really happy to see that happen. I'm a big fan of Necros and I can't really wait for the reprints that are coming along. I'll probably get the original core at some point anyway, but to be able to play it and not break my absolute bank is going to be a really good time. Evil Storm Exciton Knight has gone to 3 from 1. I don't really think that's going to see a big change at all. I think it's fine at 3. No one really played it at 1, so we're all good. Interrupted Kaiju Slumber has gone to 3, again giving us more outs to that larger, the large board presence, the kind of combo deck presence. We're back in a situation like we were in 2016, I believe, where you could play 3 Kaiju Slumbers in your side deck as your real anti-board policy. Good to see that come through. The Monarch Storm has gone to 3. That's a card that I'm going to raise an eyebrow at, and I'm interested to see how that's going to pan out in the meta to come. Monarch Storm, of course, one of the most powerful removal cards in the game, specifically for the Monarch deck, and really anything that could play it otherwise. So we're really intrigued how that's going to go. Eradicator Epidemic Virus, that's really lent into me considering Eradicator Epidemic Virus has really lent into me considering Cosmo in the Trap variant as a real contender for the format this time around. The fact that you can play Eradicator Epidemic Virus with your Dark Destroyers and it's now consistent at 3 and playable alongside Trap Trick is going to make your Sky Striker matchup almost free. So very much looking forward to how Eradicator is going to play out in the remaining game. I think it's going to be obscene, and it's one reason why I'm really not that big of a fan of Sky Striker and Altergeist, even though they haven't seen a hit. Inverting Barrier going to 3. There's going to be some more Wombo combo decks, but not too fast. Wind Up Magician has gone to 3, but without my boat, I'm not happy enough. I want my Wind Up boat. Without that, the deck doesn't function. We need that. OCG have it, why don't we? TG Hyper Librarian has gone from semi-limited to unlimited, giving the TG decks just that little bit more power, but I really think you were just going to be teching it anyway. I'm definitely teching it in my TG Trident build, so Hyper Librarian is fine there. And then limited removal going from 2 to 3, another card that wasn't really seeing play, and I don't think this will really change it too much. But guys, that's going to bring me to about the end of the video. I hope you've all enjoyed. I'm very much excited for the format to come. My list in review really concludes that I feel like this is a phenomenal list. There's a lot of checks and balances in here. It's abundantly clear that Konami has changed their strategy in terms of plot armor on the competitive game. And it's also very, very apparent that Konami wants us to move away from build a board, kill my board games, and much more into a little bit more of interaction, which is really something I enjoy a whole lot more. So we've seen that happen. I really feel like some of the hits have been balanced against some cards coming off the list to counteract things that have been left in. So I really feel like the meta is going to be in a nice kind of even position. I'm sure, like everyone's feedback states, I'm sure that there is going to end up being maybe 3 decks that are the polar most powerful decks, and it'll probably become very apparent that while there were hits, some decks will just continue to be the best. We always come into these formats very optimistic, but I'm yet again very optimistic about this one. It's been a big change, and I'm hoping it leads to a big change in the competitive scene. Let me know what you think of this list and what you're going to be playing in the comment section down below, and I'll see you guys next time for some more Yu-Gi-Oh related content. Peace out. Been Jamie the Kid 00. You've got a wonderful audience. Bye bye.